Okay, welcome everyone. This is the public meeting for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Grant application. We will shortly go through a presentation showing exactly what we're doing and what the projects are and how we're going about doing it. With that, Mr. Hoffman?
Sure,
the floor
thank
is
you,
yours.
Mr. Dibb. Well, thank you for having me today. I'm here to talk about a couple applications that the city is looking to put in for Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Grants. These grants are in association with the federal disaster that was declared with the flooding in June 2021. That was 4602. It's a FEMA designation, which establishes the eligibility for this grant. All of Wayne County is eligible. There's just under $20 million available, with just under $3 million of that eligible for planning activities. The remainder is for items like housing and infrastructure. This particular grant that we're pursuing one for the infrastructure and one for the planning. All projects must demonstrate a tie back to the disaster that was subject of the declaration. And one key component is that for the infrastructure grant, the assets must be owned by the city, the applicant. So the assets that we put in the application must be owned by the city. Just to go over what these grants are, the infrastructure grant is due August 30th. Actually, it's August 22nd. That's a mistake. But they are going to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and those will go in at that date. And then the planning grants, they're accepted on a rolling basis starting in September. Our intention is to submit that planning grant when it is open. So they are accepting those on a rolling basis, kind of a first come, first served. Our intent is to get that application in the day it opens so that we're in the front. A little overview of projects that we evaluated. Not all these projects we are pursuing, but ones that we did look at. Top on everyone's list is Ecorse Creek and trying to address issues on Ecorse Creek, including dredging, channel improvements, and the like. We determined that this is not eligible. It's not an eligible use of the infrastructure grant because the creek is not a city asset, so it doesn't meet the definition of that grant. So we could not move forward with that. Other projects that we looked at are the combined sewer projects that are obviously significantly on the city's radar. Other projects, Ecorse Creek, looking at the bridges on Ecorse Creek. Some of those bridges are suspected, and more than suspected, probably impeding flow on Ecorse Creek. So trying to improve those situations. And then we also, the city was interested in doing an infrastructure resilience and capital improvements plan. And that would be looking at the assets throughout the city so that we can properly maintain them moving forward. Just a side note, that type of plan is very important when we're pursuing federal and state funding. If we've identified projects in those plans, it becomes much easier to get that funding. The projects we selected for the infrastructure grant were the bridges over the Ecorse Creek. Those had the strongest tie back to the disaster because the way they are actually designed and built, they do impede flow and can be improved to enable more flow on Ecorse Creek. So it has a direct tie back to the disaster. We are trying to determine how many of those bridges will fit within the grant. Our target is under $2 million of total project cost. That's kind of the ask. The city is committed or is going to be looking to commit up to 20%, 10%, or $200,000, the lesser of one of those coming up. Just based on very preliminary estimates, the grant application might include 2 to 3 of those bridges. So we're working on the cost estimate right now to determine which ones will actually make it. But those are the 3 bridges we're looking at. They were all recommended to look at those bridges for hydraulic analysis and see their how they're impeding Ecorse Creek and replace them with different structures. As you can see, those are dual pipe culverts. Not the most optimal solution there. Excuse me. And then for the planning grant, that's the one that will open in September. The Infrastructure Resilience and Capital Improvement Plan is what we determined to apply for there. So as I mentioned, those 3 bridges, each of them in a recent inspection report, a recommendation was made to analyze hydraulics and replace those structures with a single span culvert or bridge. So once we look at the hydraulics, we try to improve the flow that goes on Ecorse Creek under those bridges. Again, that's a direct tie back to the disaster. Project costs, as I said, we're developing construction cost estimates. Targeting replacement of, we'd love to get 3 bridges, but we really need to understand how much of those cost before we determine that final amount. These projects are well within the national objective. So we have to meet a national objective for CDBG funds. We're selecting the benefit to low moderate income areas. This area is a area of medium to high social vulnerability, and it does have a high percentage population of those in the low to moderate income. So it is a good fit with the CDBG program. And then finally, getting to the planning grant. Again, our costs are in development on this. We are finalizing the scope of services. That would be what are the components of the infrastructure plan. Things that will be included are things like asset management, capital improvements planning, which is basically creating a database of projects that the city needs to get done, should get done, prioritize those projects through public involvement, public engagement, and use that in the future. And also look at infrastructure and the resilience that it needs to build for flooding and other catastrophic events. This plan will utilize a lot of existing information. So the city does have a lot of plans and studies and parts and pieces, which is a good place to start in developing that. It also gives us a head start on getting some of those things done. And like I said before, this will be very, very helpful in pursuing additional funding as it comes out. So with that, that's my summary of the projects. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Deb?
Yes, well, thank you, Wayne. This was a great overview. Just for the audience, though, to provide a little more detail about why we're doing what we're doing. The disaster DR recovery portion of this, one of the highest priority projects in the city of Dearborn Heights has been, in addition to our aging infrastructure, is also the issue with flooding, especially on the south end with the Ecorse Creek. I'm sure the audience understand this is not a new issue, and the fact that the creek or the river itself is not owned by the city. However, the impact is felt mostly by our neighborhoods. And if you look at the entire watershed, it's no surprise that Dearborn Heights gets the worst of the flooding repeatedly, I have to say. And so we've identified things that need to be done, from conveyance capacity, flow capacity, channel capacity, things that we needed to do. Starting from the small, immediate, like maintenance type cleanup, all the way up to channel enhancement, dredging, restoration of the channel, and of course, every step in between. Now, we're working diligently with Wayne County and other agencies on trying to find the immediate solution with maintenance, the midterm solution with the dredging, and the long-term solution with the pond, storage pond on Inkster Road. So these are the projects in a nutshell. Now, and try to take this to the next step, we're working with the agencies involved, and this is one of them, to provide the funding needed. So we're looking at things while we're not doing the creek itself, as Wayne indicated, we identified choke points within the flow, within the 5 miles in Dearborn Heights on the creek. And these choke points were the aging bridges that we have. They're restricting the flow, they're aging, we had, under the bridge program with the state, we do inspections and load analysis for all the bridges. So we know we have some bridges that are aging and need improvements. Now, we can restore them to existing condition, or we can do what Wayne just indicated, try to provide a different design that will allow more of the flow and less restrictions on the flow to go hand in hand with what the county is doing or what other projects are doing to enhance our issues with the flooding in Dearborn Heights. So that's the main reason why we're doing what we're doing. The part two about the planning portion, that is needed, absolutely needed. And we are going through as a city with our capital program to identify and provide a capital improvement program that specifies in a scheduled fashion all the projects that we need to get done and put a timeline, what needs to happen first. So that's part of that too. And it is needed because our infrastructure, again, is aging. And we just wanted to make sure that we're doing the needs assessment, the plan replacement, and put it on paper. So as time goes by, we are going to implementation, and we have an actual plan that will get us where we need to be. There will be a lot of public involvement, just like any community going through master planning. We will do that, but the ultimate results will be the development of a capital improvement program that the city will have for years to come, and then we will update it as needs be. But that's the main planning grant portion. So we have the infrastructure grant and the planning grant. And again, without going to a lot of details, I think the justification speaks for itself. It's no surprise to anyone. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of surprises when we contacted agencies about the floods in Dearborn Heights. It is a well-documented problem for us. It's just, we believe it's time to get everyone involved to develop a solution for that problem. So that's the ultimate goal. This is what we're trying to do. If you have any questions, please let us know. I'm willing to answer. Go ahead. If you do have questions, please raise your hands on Zoom so we can see it. I have. I don't know. Okay, if not, Wayne, what about the timeline?
There's a pretty good amount of time allowed in these grants. For the bridges, ideally, we could probably get those done within a couple of years. I don't have the specific schedule for each bridge.
Okay.
But, constructing those in a single season shouldn't be a problem. On the infrastructure plan, that could be a 2-year process, especially depending on public engagement. So, yeah, I don't see an issue with getting these done within the grant period, and hopefully within a few years, having a good capital improvements plan that helps the city position for funding, which there's a lot out of it. There's a lot out there right now, and the more information we have, the more we're able to position the city for those funds.
Good point. So basically, we wanted to capitalize on availability of infrastructure because this is a national issue. I mean, it is not a surprise to anyone that our nation's infrastructure is aging. And, this is not just unique to Dearborn Heights or to Michigan. It is a nationwide issue. So, but we wanted to position ourselves in such a way that we can take advantage of all that funding. We wanted to be able to make a good case for us, wanted to show that we actually know what we're doing. We have a plan. We have done a needs assessment. We've done, we know what we have, and we know where we need to be, and we know what it's going to take to get us there. So part of the capital improvement program that we're trying to develop is also project descriptions and costs. So these are the things that we need to approach funding agencies. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Most funding agencies now have a requirement when you're filling out a grant application. Where is this referred to in a public plan? Have you gone out and done engagement with the public when you said this was a priority? So that's a really important part of the process now. That's been around for a while, but it's become really prominent in most funding sources. So having that is a proactive move. Having it, kind of on the shelf and ready to go is really important nowadays. So there's a lot of value to be had in going through this process. Plus, it helps the city properly plan for replacement of assets. Because as assets depreciate, you're going to have to, eventually replace them or repair them. It helps you plan that and prioritize as well.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Wayne. I think we're on the right track. Do we have any questions? Let's see it. I think we have one question. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Hope everybody's doing okay. Now I heard that you said that as far as the dredging wouldn't be covered or anything. So what about just out and out, just cleaning it out, getting some of the refuse out? That would help a lot of the, some of the flooding, so it'll establish a good flow.
Yeah, so Wayne, you want to answer that within the perimeter of the grant? Now, I know we have other efforts that are taking place now, other than this work. So there is, was that $10 million? There's a lot of other projects that are currently taking place for the creek itself, other than from the county side, other than this. Wayne, do you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, and that's an area that we focused on trying to do that with this grant, but the details of the grant include you must do this work on a city asset.
Yeah.
The creek does not qualify as a city asset. I don't know that the scope of work actually dredging is kind of an unclear area if that meets, but it definitely does not meet the definition of a city asset. So in a lot of ways, we are hostage to the grant requirements, and that is one that kind of negates what we're able to do here.
Yeah, now that's not to say that, our pipes are city assets, so, outfalls are city assets. So we just have to stay within the grant requirement. Basically, if you use their 90% of the project cost, if you use their money, you're gonna play it their way. So we have other things,
Thank you.
assets that belong to the city that we can take advantage of. Right, Wayne?
Yeah, we did look at the outfalls. The issue with that is we didn't have enough information to get this grant in on time. Fortunately, we have a bridge inspection report that says right there that we need to look at the hydraulic impact of these bridges. So we had the information right at our fingertips, hence why we're looking for that planning grant, so that we can have an inventory of the outfalls, understand what the solutions there would be, so that when these opportunities come up, we could apply for those. And we are always, we work with the city on a consistent basis looking for funding. We are always looking for funding for eCourse, whether it's for the city to do it, the county to do it, somebody else, anyone do it.
Yeah. I do appreciate that, though, believe me.
It is not it is an expensive, but we're taking
Yes.
bite sizes, absolutely, but it's better than doing nothing. So there are a lot of
Yes,
things that
yeah.
can be done, and I know that other agencies are also involved, so we're just gonna continue till we get there.
Okay.
Any
thank
other
you.
questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I did get an email today, this is Nancy, from the lady at Detroit River, and she's looking for an address for Bishop Park as a possibility where we would have access to go in and remove debris and so forth. So it's part of Richard Young, actually, it's the back part. So I maybe can try to follow up on that.
All right. Okay. Well, this is, yeah, that's fine, yeah, once we get the grant, we can work, I just want to get to the point where we get approval on the grant, get the money, and, I'm sure we can work the scope. We have more needs than money. I'm sure we can work on the scope. I'm sure we will have more scopes than money, trust me. We're gonna get there. We're focused on this issue. We're gonna get there. Unfortunately, it is expensive, and you try to do it in a way that is not going to add cost to our taxpayers.
Wayne, this is Mariana. Just one more question. When will the results of the awards come out? Do we have a timeline for that?
We don't have a firm timeline for that. This is not a grant that comes out a lot. So the state had to create a special process for this. So we don't have a firm timeline on when that will be. I do expect it to be fairly prompt, and by fairly prompt, I'd say within 3 to 6 months. And hopefully we'd be starting activities, and that would probably, in terms of the bridges, be designed starting next year. And with the planning grant, we will be starting that planning process next year. So I don't anticipate this to happen right away, but I'd say 3 to 6 months is a good timeline to focus on for grant award.
Wonderful. Okay. So we'll just take that into account as we do our planning for all the projects that we're doing. So, because we're trying to get this on the calendar, all of them, all the work that we're doing, so. Perfect. Okay, so.
Mr. Deep, can I ask another question?
Shoot. Yes, sir.
Okay. With all the rain and storms and everything we've had this year, have we had any flooding? I didn't get a chance to drive down to check the area out at all. And I was curious about that.
So I'm not aware of flooding per se, but there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. We're doing a number of things there. It may not be related to the Ecorse Creek itself, but we just separated a very large area, the largest area of combined sewers in Dearborn Heights.
Right.
Just recently got separated. So when we had that last month, the repeated rain events, I was glued to the monitor trying to see if, because typically that was the largest area. It was by far the largest combined sewers in Dearborn Heights. And knock on wood, the project is not complete, right? But the actual separation has already taken place. So, we have some finishing things to do. But that's good, because we had not one flood, not one basement flooded,
good.
no street flood. So knock on wood, we're on the right track. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, because this is, it's an ongoing thing. But, so we still have more to do on the combined sewers, but we do one at a time, one area. This happens to be 42, L42 was the largest, by far. That's our largest area. So we're on the right track. Hopefully, on the south end.
Yes.
We're gonna get there. Like I said, we're working with different agencies constantly, and there was some repeated grant awards for different things. Our job is to put them all on one calendar so that there are no duplications, and we're taking advantage. So timing is critical. When you want to do something, you want to make sure that what it's done before. So it's like, you take the scope, and we're watching exactly what other agencies are doing. So we're not duplicating it. So, we'll just stay tuned. It's exciting. Actually, I'm happy because for the first time that I know of, where there's some actual things happening when it comes to the Ecorse Creek.
Yes.
I don't remember ever seeing that much activities before.
Right, myself as well. I'm a lifelong resident here, and I've been, well, you know, I've been
Yes.
happy about the whole thing. So
I appreciate it.
know,
Hopefully,
what's
we're
going
gonna
on.
get there. We're gonna get there. Eventually, we are. It's just that, you don't want to do it all yourself because it is extremely expensive. So we're taking
Yes.
advantage of every, every possible funding source. We don't care who it is, as long as, money is money, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, whenever it's, we've had real bad rains in the past,
You know,
I stand by my door wall and look outside and go, oh,
I know.
I hope it don't flood. I hope it don't flood. Then we hear what happens. Saying it this year after we've had some pretty good rains,
Yeah.
and so that's good
Nancy,
that
are
things
you
are
aware?
holding up. Okay, thank you.
No, are you aware of any,
No?
no?
I've been surprised.
Yeah, so the combination of things. Okay. Okay, with, I think we're about out of time. We have no questions. Wayne, any last comments before we say, let's do it?
Nope, if there are no other comments, you can close the public comment period.
Oh, okay, so, no other comments, can you see?
Somebody,
one.
looks like somebody
Oh,
raised their
yeah,
hand
yeah.
on Zoom.
Vince?
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry to get in there at the last minute.
Oh,
This is just a wild thought. With some of the grant monies that are available out there, Mr. Wayne, I don't know if, have you considered any money resources through Ducks Unlimited? Since it is a waterway, or any of those projects that would help, for like park improvements or waterway improvements through Ducks Unlimited?
I haven't looked at those specifically. That would be interesting to investigate with, the Alliance of Downriver Watersheds. I don't know if they've pursued any, but that's something to look at. We are looking at, especially recreational improvements along the river. The city just recently received, they have conditional award of a grant that would focus on urban stormwater management. And a component of that could be recreational, mixing a recreational use with managing stormwater on site. So I could see some projects coming out of that project. So basically, that's a study to identify projects to manage stormwater out of your sewer system. Keep the water out, keep it on sites throughout the city, so it's not going straight to the creek. So I think, we're kind of at the preliminary phases of looking at those projects and how they might fit. There's a lot of really awesome creative ways to, use recreation funding to do that stormwater management component. So we're just at the start of that. Once we do, we will be able to look at a lot of different funding resources the city hasn't even been exposed to yet. So good suggestion there. Ducks Unlimited is a great organization, so we'll take a look.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Vince, can you please say your street name and city?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Vince Drepkowski, Columbia Street, Dearborn Heights, Michigan, Wayne County.
And Tim, do you mind saying yours as well? I'm so sorry.
You need the address or just street?
Street.
street.
Okay, Eaton Avenue, Dearborn Heights.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Okay, so with that, I think we can close the public comment, and Mr. Hoffman, you have the final.
I have nothing more to add.
Okay.
If the city can close public comment, and everyone have a good night.
All right, thank you. All right, everyone, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for coming to the public forum meeting, and more to come.
Thank you.
Oh, we have someone? Oh, Vince, no, that's just a hand. Perfect. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.